Hi everyone. This is my video slash tutorial on how to keep your rabbit clean when they can't move their legs or they're otherwise like mobility limited, or like mostly unable to keep themselves upright. There's a way that you can do it using the supplies I talked about earlier in the video to keep like basically 90% of their pee off of their body and away from them. So this is Sam. This is our beautiful Holland Lot bunny. She's the bunny that's on my shirt. The story with Sam is about a year and a half ago. She had like a seizure type event, and after that her back legs just never recovered, and she never was able to really stand upright anymore. She has cuniculi, so probably it was caused by that. She's had like a couple seizure type events in the past, and so the most recent one, which was from last year around like June or so, after that she just never recovered the use of her back legs. And then additionally, on top of that, her right leg has remained kind of like locked at the knee and the ankle. I might talk a little bit more about that in a different video. We've been doing some other methods to try to get that movement back and get those muscles engaged again. But for right now, I'm just going to go through the method that I use to just kind of keep her clean, like just kind of generally clean. So, yeah. Sam, do you want to say hi before we start? She's looking a little rough because she just shed like all of the fur off of her face. It's her first time having like a full molt since she got sick, so that's pretty cool that she's feeling good enough, I guess, to basically like expend the calories for that. And she's also getting stronger, as you can see from the leg kicks, from some of the like PT type stuff that I've been doing for her. I think it's been helping her with gaining some of the muscle and feeling back in her legs. So we will see how that progresses. But anyways, so this is how we're gonna go here. Number one, I use a spray bottle kind of like this, and this is with like just a soapy water solution. Don't use regular soap. It has to be, what is that stuff called? It's specifically for animals like bunnies and stuff like that. I can like link it or put a photo into the video. Just a little bit of water and soap. I like this nozzle because it lets me get into this area very well without using too much water. So this is a very thin nozzle, so I'm able to use just a very little bit of water and still get the job done really well. These are just strips of paper towels. I just take a regular paper towel and cut it into strips of like 4. Like take one piece, cut it into 4 sections. So start off just tucking it here. So that's tucking between her pee and poo area and the leg that's on the bottom there. And I'm just gonna spritz into here. I know, sweetie. I know. I'm sorry. I know, not the most fun. And so, as far as holding her goes, so I have my hand tucked underneath her, so she's kind of resting mostly on my forearm. And in this way, I'm able to use these fingers here kind of like as support or to help me hold on to stuff, and then I'm mainly using my other hand to actually do the cleaning. So I'm just kind of gently dabbing at the pee and poo areas. I'm just kind of wiping here. So one thing to look out for is that the crease right where the legs kind of turn, like meet the butt area, that can be an area that'll start to collect gunk. So you just want to make sure that you're cleaning in there. You can use a Q-tip as well to just kind of get into those crevices. Just make sure that things are staying as clean and as dry as possible. Okay, strong girl. All right. Okay. So something that we've been doing lately to help with her legs, you can see she's kicking, and this is a very big improvement. She used to really not kick too much. She didn't really have the strength to do it. We've been doing electrostim with a TENS unit just like little electro pads we put on the skin, and you can see, you know, she's shedding fur as well, so it's perfect timing because the TENS unit, the sticky pads, need to be able to contact the skin in order for it to work. So yeah, she's been kicking a lot harder and a lot more often, which I feel like is a good sign. Come on, sweetheart. It's okay, baby girl. You're all right. You're okay. Good girl. Big kicks. Okay. Oh, another handy tool is a headlamp that can come in handy. As you, oops, upside down. Yeah, so I use a headlamp to get down here and just really make sure that I'm inspecting very carefully and seeing what's going on down there. So after you've done that part, she's relatively clean today, but sometimes that step that I just did with just the soap alone can take like 2 or 3 rounds of spraying, wiping it off, spraying, wiping it off, but she's been relatively clean, so we're going to go on to the next step, which is just rinsing with regular water. I reuse this little alcohol container. This is just regular water. It's not rubbing alcohol. Don't use rubbing alcohol. This is just water from the tap. Just drizzle on a piece of paper towel. And again, yeah, I know, baby girl. I know. Again, just making sure you're getting into the crevice. You got to make sure that it is as clean as possible. You're getting, you know, any poo or pee or, you know, little chunks of like shed fur and stuff like that. You're getting all of that out. I know, baby girl. I know. I really enjoy cutting the paper towel into fourths. Like, that really makes things a lot more efficient. You can clean a lot better because the piece is a lot smaller. And that way you're also, you know, you're not going through half a roll of paper towels every single day. This next part is super tricky to see, just because of the camera angles like aren't exactly ideal. Let me see if I can change that up a little bit. That's not very much better, I guess. But basically, the poo and the pee area, there is fur that grows there, obviously. And that fur can trap like pee and poo and gunk, and it's going to be really bad for the skin. So what I do is I take a comb like this. This is what we use for grooming the bunny's fur anyway. So you can, I think it's a capped fur comb. See, there's a, you know, wide tooth and a narrow tooth side. So what I do is I will very gently use the narrow tooth side to very, very gently groom the fur that is growing around the poo and pee area. Very important step, because again, you know, that fur otherwise will trap poo and pee and stuff like that against the skin. We learned that kind of the hard way, and it's taken a little while to heal, but she's healing really, really, really well. So this is how I do it. I'm gonna turn the headlamp on, and I'm gonna take my left thumb, right, so the hand that's underneath the bunny, and I'm going to just very gently push forward on her pee and her pee area here. Don't yank the tail to pull this back. You don't want to do that and hurt the tail. Just want to very gently just kind of push forward, and full discretion, this part sucks. Your rabbit may kick and struggle quite a bit because it's very uncomfortable for them, but unfortunately it's very necessary if you want to have them be clean. And it's less pain for them long term because they're not going to have a bunch of skin that's super messed up from urine being so close, being on their skin all the time. So again, I'm using my hands or my fingers on the hand underneath to push the P area forward, and I'm taking the fine comb and I'm just very gently just kind of gliding it up and getting the area between the tail and her poop area, just very gently. And in this manner as well, you can also, since you're kind of combing through it, you'll be able to see when that fur needs to be trimmed down. And if it does need to be trimmed down, the way I do it is with, shoot, where is it? Here we go. So I use a pair of scissors like this. You see where it's curved. You see that? Let's see if it'll focus here. I'm using the selfie mode. So it's curved, right? So that way, if you think about it, right, if you're trying to cut kind of flush to the surface, but you don't want to cut the skin, having the scissors being angled up like this means that as you cut, you run less of a risk of cutting off a big chunk of skin or something like that. So curved scissors for that. In fact, she actually does need a little bit of a trim right here as well, so I can kind of show you guys how I do that. So again, the scissors are curving upwards, right? Away from the surface of the skin. Be very careful. You just kind of trim away a little bit of the fur. It's a tricky balance because at some point the fur helps keep things away from the skin, but it's like as it gets too gunked up, then it makes it worse. Okay, here's back to the combing here. Okay, sweetheart. I know. Yes, I know. This is your least favorite part. I know, sweetheart. I know, baby. Okay, can you just work with me here? We're almost done. Just one little spot left. Just one little spot. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is when you are spraying with the soap and water mixture, be careful not to angle it so that you are spraying like up into the body. So I'm typically angling it so I'm kind of spraying it down the side or like along the sides. Yeah, you just don't want to have soapy water kind of get like into their bodies that way. So, so that area is combed. Yeah, the area is combed. So now what we're gonna do, use this ointment. This is Silver Honey Absorpine Ointment. This stuff is pretty good. Our vet, Dr. Lyle Cleary, here in Manhattan, recommended that to us, and it is really, really good at helping the skin heal. So I'm gonna apply some around the front of her P area. We previously had an issue where that skin area was incredibly irritated. However, I'm going to show you in the next step, using like a kind of a scarf kind of method, we've been able to have that area heal up really, really well, like really well. Another thing too, currently in the middle of healing is, what'll happen is right here, like that crease, right? Like right here where the legs kind of turn toward into the butt area, that can get like chafed really easily with the onesies that we use too, and just like sizing and blah blah blah, and you know, the moisture from like sun pee that kind of gets through and stuff like that. It'll chafe really easily, and so she does have some a wound like here, and then the same thing right over there. It's like right there in the crack, I guess, of like the inner thigh, meaning the butt. And so I'm gonna go ahead and apply some of that ointment there as well. I usually glop it on pretty thick. And then, I know, sweetheart. To the next step. Just wipe my hands clean here. So what we've been using is this stuff. This is cast padding for like if you break your arm, like this goes into the cast, like the plaster cast. Again, introduced to us by our vet, works phenomenally well. So what we're gonna do is cut off a few pieces here. The first piece is gonna go around the waist. It's to prevent chafing here in the hip corner up in the front. So I'm going to cut off a piece. And this stretches, so I'm going to show you in a second. However long of a piece you cut, stretch it out. Because otherwise when you're using it, it's going to stretch out on its own anyway. And then the things that you thought you had to secure tightly end up being very loose. So just like hold it like here. You can kind of feel it'll naturally stop. And that's how you'll know you've kind of reached the maximum like stretch amount for it. Then we're going to grab our medical tape. We have used and tried a variety of tapes. This kind of tape still remains the best. It is Curad, the green brand is the brand of it, but it's like this like paper tape. It's not the woven fabric kind, right? Like Curad also makes this kind where it's like a closer to a fabric. This just kind of feels like paper, and this type is much more preferred because it's a lot softer and a lot more flexible and also thinner. And that will make a difference as we fit the onesie and diaper over this whole contraption. So, thank you for the kisses. Sammy knows that I'm helping her, so she usually kisses me while I'm doing this, even though she hates the whole process. Thank you, girl. So this first one is going to go just right around the waist, right? I'm just going to take a piece of tape. I'm going to attach it to this tag end here, and then that way I can pull it tight. Okay? Now, like I mentioned in an earlier part of the video, puppy pads are going to be a very crucial ingredient to this whole thing. So I'm going to cut off a rectangle. And this is a sort of new development that we've started because basically the issue that we kind of ran into is a couple of months ago, well, it's been longer than that, like earlier this year, basically we started to do subcutaneous fluid injections for Sam basically every day. And so it's fantastic at keeping her hydrated, but like I was saying before, right, the issue is then pee and poo can sometimes get caught by that fur, and it'll kind of sit like on the surface of the skin around her pee and poo areas. And so that skin was getting super irritated. I was really struggling to figure out a way to keep the skin protected, because if you wrap it with like more gauze or the cast padding, that works okay, but then as that gets saturated, then it does an even better job at holding the moisture to the skin, which then makes the whole thing worse. And it's not feasible to keep changing that in and out. You can't, change that like 20 times a day. So the solution is this. Think of it as a scarf. So the same thing as before. We're going to take a shorter piece, significantly shorter piece of the cast padding. Again, stretching it out as long as it will allow for. Okay, and I'm going to fold it over hot dog style. See that? So all I did was just take that long piece and just fold it over this way. kind of roughly even that out here. Then you're gonna take this little cut, compared to the size of my thumb. It's about the size of my thumb here. Little piece of cut puppy pad. And we are going to line it up to the edge that has the fold. I'll show you in a second after I'm done with this process. I will show you more in detail. It'll make more sense when I hold it up to the camera. We're going to attach it again just with 2 little strips of the tape that I just mentioned. And I recommend doing this ahead of time. I didn't because I wanted to, I don't know, take the scenic route, I guess. Okay, so look, that's what we have, right? The fold crease is up here. So this, you know, the bottom part is here, right? You see that? And it's just held in place with some tape right there. Blue side, the plastic side, is facing out. And then what we're gonna do is fold this in half. Folding this in half. Again, you can see this is the crease side, and that's the side where the puppy pad is like to the edge of it, right? We're gonna take our scissors. We're gonna start right here in the middle, and about 45 degrees down, we're gonna cut. So what you end up with is like this. See that? So again, the folded crease is up here, and we've cut out this sort of triangle shape here. I'm gonna take another 2 pieces of tape. It's usually a little bit easier if I kind of hold her up vertically like this. Oh, wait, 1 second. I usually do a little extra dab of this ointment stuff. I'm gonna put it smack dab in the middle of the plastic puppy pad part. So the concept is like this. If you imagine her poo and pee hole dispenser, let's imagine are my fingers, right? Say, you know, this is the index finger is her back, her poo hole, and my middle finger would then be the pee hole. We're gonna place it like this. So it's gonna be a scarf to wrap around like that. You see that? And so, oh, wait, on my hand here. And in that way, we are able to create a surface that lets the moisture basically not stay on her skin. And it's helped. This actually made a huge difference. It's actually let her skin heal there, and it's no longer, you know, always kind of like soaked with pee and poo. So we're gonna tuck this in here. See if you guys can see that. I know the lighting in here sucks. Okay, we're just gonna line it up like so that's seated roughly halfway, right? And then we're gonna fold down like this way. You don't want to go this way because then it's like kind of opening up and it's negating what you're trying to do. So we want to fold downwards like this. That's where it's really tricky, because if you don't cut enough off in that diagonal cut part, if you don't cut enough off, it's gonna stick up beyond the level of her pee hole, and then, you know, that's kind of annoying. It'll be kind of like in her way. It might block her from peeing even as it shifts around. So you want it to basically be like the same height. And then after that, we're going to tape that down. then just very gently, just make sure you're not blocking her urethra or anything like that. Okay? See that? So it's kind of like a little scarf that kind of wraps around that area. Now, our next step is, I need to cut. I'll have to edit this out. Okay. Okay, so now you're gonna cut 2 strips from the puppy pad, like this. I'm not sure, I was thinking the other day that this might also work if you just removed this plastic piece entirely and just used the plastic piece, but I haven't done any testing on that, and this way's been working out okay so far, so I'm not gonna change anything for right now. But these are gonna get wrapped into the crease here of the leg. So here's how that's gonna look. First we'll get our little strips of tape. Okay. We're gonna get a little more ointment. Yep. Then we are gonna take this. This is gonna be plastic side to the skin again. Same thing as the scarf thing that we did earlier. So that's plastic side to the skin. We're just gently tucking it into the crease. We're not wrapping it around the leg because the wound that she has is not on the side of the leg. It's actually there, like kind of like in the leg crack, I guess. And so we're just gently kind of folding it into there. Again, holding it in place with tape. Okie dokie. And then we are going to do the exact same thing on the other leg. Okay, sweet girl. Yeah, this is tricky because I'm not a lefty, so this gets a little bit difficult. But I've been working on becoming ambidextrous. Exact same thing as before, kind of tucking it in here. If you're watching this, you might be thinking, well, this might not work for my rabbit. Sam is usually, before she got sick, she was very anti being held by us. I think the longest we ever were able to like hold her was maybe like 45 seconds before she would start to bite. But Sam started to kind of figure out that her being fussed with meant that she also would feel better afterwards, and so now her amount of fussing with it has decreased quite a bit. So, point of saying that is, if you're looking at this and you're like, "Oh, my rabbit would never let me do that," give it a shot, because I think rabbits are smarter than people give them credit for, and they kind of can tell, like, "Hey, I'm being helped," and that having to sit patiently for this whole thing to be done actually benefits them. Anyways, now it's time for the onesies. I'm gonna go over how these onesies are cut in a different part of the video, but so these are already pre-cut onesies. Sam is, before she got sick and lost all the weight, she was a 4.5 pound rabbit, and she uses these are newborn size onesies. So size accordingly for your bunny. It is important that you get the ones that have like the actual little legs attached. I know some onesies don't. It's just like they'll just like a stop at the leg part. It's, as far as I've seen, it's you're gonna want the kind that have the leg part. Doke. So I always go front paws first. All right. Now the leg part's kind of tricky. So this is how I do it. I do the top leg first, and then the bottom leg has to get, like, it goes through the zipper hole too. Like there's like a zipper section. You got to go through that too. That'll kind of throw you off sometimes. So now this is the tricky part. You want to work the onesie up so that it's going to be kind of seated in where it's going to go without disrupting the pads that you already put down here. So that's a little bit tricky. Also, make sure you tuck the tail through. You don't want it crunched up somewhere random. You want to have the tail through the onesie. So I'll show you in a second what I mean by that. So now this is the part where we're going to stand her up. You'll see in a second what I mean by her right leg being kind of locked here. She basically can't let that right leg relax for some reason. Anyways, this is, in my opinion, the trickiest part. Make sure you got a firm hold on her. You see she just try to like kind of kick. So you got to make sure you're holding on to her real well here. And work the zipper over to the side. And then zip all the way up. Make sure the zipper's kind of lined up. You don't want it to be twisted. Then lay her back down to make sure that the leg part is not twisted. I usually just kind of yank the leg part down a little bit, because you don't need all the fabric bunched up into the hip crease. You just don't need it. It's not necessary. There you go, sweet girl. That's my baby girl. All right. Now this part, we are ready for the diaper, which I'm gonna have to edit again because I didn't do this part ahead of time. Okay. So we've got our diaper. I'm going to go over the diaper in a different section of the video as well. But basically, these these edges are all sewed shut, and then I've put an additional piece of masking tape over the left and right edges of this cut out stitched square. It is very important that the edges are stitched and that you have this hole cut out. Do not use a diaper as is. It's going to make everything a lot worse. It's better off to not use any diapers at all than to use one without cutting this hole. This hole is extremely important. Like this is the most important piece of this whole entire shebang is this piece right here. The diaper has to have the square cut. The sides of the cut square have to be stitched, and then the masking tape is a little extra precaution. But it's got to be that way. My mom helped us out, used the sewing machine, and all I did was I used the stencil I cut out of a note card, drew on the rectangle for her, and then all she did was just use the sewing machine, put down stitches into this rectangle, and then I just used scissors to cut out the rectangle without cutting the stitching. And then after that, you want to kind of pluck out some of the little fibers and little diaper powder fillings in there, and the masking tape is an extra precaution against the filling as well. And I will talk about that, why that's so important, in a little bit. So, the major drawback to this setup is that unfortunately, it's very uncomfortable for the tail. And I don't know, because Sam cannot speak English to me, I don't know exactly how uncomfortable it is. But I would imagine it's somewhat uncomfortable because the tail has to be sort of not folded, but like kind of pressed up against their body. Unfortunately, it's kind of like, pick and choose. You can either have your rabbit suffering with massive amounts of skin scalding from the urine all the time and being constantly soaked in pee, or they have to deal with some discomfort in the tail. So we picked the discomfort in the tail. So the way you fit this diaper on is like this. I have the the little attachment pad parts. The attachment pad parts go up towards her head. I'm using the thumb of the hand that's underneath to hook into that square opening. I know you can't see, it's basically impossible for you to see, unfortunately, but I'm using my thumb from my left hand to guide it in, and I'm lining the back edge of that cut square with right behind her poop opening. And so once that's lined up like that, I'm gonna apply a little bit of pressure here. I'm gonna tug the diaper this way, and it's not gonna keep sliding back this way because my other thumb is still tucked into the cut square, right? So it's not gonna go anywhere, it's anchoring it there. So what I'm doing now is I'm pulling it flush like this, and I can see better too. So I can confirm, okay, I see the poop opening is in that cut square. I'm gonna grab this, yank it over to tighten down the diaper, and then repeat with the other side. Then I'm gonna take this top edge here, it's like between like on her tummy area, right? I'm gonna fold it down. And that helps with keeping it more compact. So as I tuck it down, like fold it over, I can use that to pull it closer so that the whole diaper sits flush to her body. Then that way you can readjust these accordingly. Do not put it on too tight. You can check for tightness. Kind of scrunched up the onesie here. You don't want that either. Check for tightness. I'm able to slide one finger in here very easily. And same for the underside. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just hooking a finger into the hip crease just to make sure that that diaper is not sitting too tight. I also use this as a gauge to see if she's been losing weight or anything like that. you can see based on the tightness, you can roughly estimate the circumference of the waist, right? I know, Sam. We're almost done, sweetheart. Yeah, at this point, she's usually like, "Come on, let's go. Hurry up." You want to make sure that you're tightening like over the leg, right? Like you don't want to be tightening this over like say the middle of the leg. That's never gonna work. You got to make sure that you're pulling this up enough that it is over the top of the thigh. You can imagine it's like you wouldn't put your belt on and have the belt be like at your kneecaps. You'd want to have your belts over your actual hip bone, right? So it's kind of the similar concept. You want to make sure that's actually over the leg. So now, what I can do is show you a close-up. You can see how that fits through the square, right? And you want to make sure that it's poking out beyond the level of the square a little bit. Because remember, you got to think like, if she's going to poop and pee, right? It's got to be able to clear the edge of the square and then run down the side of the diaper. That's key here. I forgot to mention this earlier, but basically, like the concept behind like this whole thing is like it's gonna work like roof shingles, right? So the pee is gonna flow out of her when she's laying on her side. It's gonna flow out of her. It's gonna go onto the surface of the diaper. It's gonna flow off the surface of the diaper onto some tape. From there, it's gonna flow onto the cut pieces of puppy pad that we're gonna be taping into the hip crease here, and I'm gonna show that to you in a second. So this is a already cut piece of puppy pad. You can see it's missing like the bottom part, but what we're gonna do is, there's different ways to cut it. I think it's maybe personal preference. So I cut off the like top section, right? And I'm just gonna fold this in half and cut this right down the middle. So the important part is, just like brownies, the corner pieces are the best. You need to have the piece that has this like sealed section and then another sealed section. It has to be the corner piece. It must be the corner piece. Same thing on the other side here. I'm gonna get our masking tape. I'm gonna put down tape. All right, now I'm going to show you why it's so important to have those corner pieces and everything. So the way this setup works is at night, right? When your rabbit is asleep and you have them laying on their side, you want to have the bed tilted. And so that allows the pee to drain away from their body. So it doesn't need to be tilted like, very extremely, right? Just a slight slope, just a slight slant to it is fine. And so as the pee then, so you're gonna think like, pee and poo, it's gonna come out of here, it's gonna run down the side of the diaper, it's gonna land right here, and then it's gonna make its way to this pad. So the reason why you need to have where it's two creases like this is because one side of the crease is going to fit into just underneath the diaper, and then the other crease, or the other end or whatever, right? Like the sealed end, that is there to prevent the pee from fully saturating the absorbent material and then making its way onto the surface that she's laying on, which would then make, obviously, that would make pee get onto her skin. So this is how you do it. You're gonna go like this, you're gonna fold this over onto the absorbent side, right? See that? Like this, fold it over like this way. And you're gonna just kind of slowly, gently wedge its way like so. See that? Yes, I know, Sammy. I know, we're almost done. She's not happy because I'm taking longer because I'm doing this video. So it's tucked in between the diaper and the onesie itself. You're gonna take your masking tape, 3M Painter's contractor grade masking tape. I believe this is like 1.5 inches, 2 inches maybe, but 3M masking tape, this is like the best. Don't use duct tape, don't use Gorilla tape. Like, no other kinds of tape work better than contractor grade masking tape. It's gotta be this. Don't bother using anything else. Trust me, I've already tried it. This is the best. Take these little strips. They're about, I don't know, like the size of like one thumb digit, right? Like about 1.5 inches or so. The important part is you're gonna fold it over like this. You see the sticky sides around my fingers, right? It's like folding it like a taco. So you kind of see that, yeah. Because you need the crease where it's folding there to match that corner where the puppy pad is going underneath the diaper. Remember I was saying? Just like roof shingles, right? Roof shingles are overlapping, and that's how this works as well. And the exact same concept for the taping applies as well. So when you put the tape down, put one a little bit more towards the head, one a little bit more towards the tail, and then one piece of tape in the middle over those two. So that first piece of tape I put down, let's not count that one or whatever, right? So but just go one towards the back, one more towards the front, and now I'm going to put one over the middle, and so that's kind of covering the edges of the previous pieces of tape. Sam, please don't bite me, okay, baby girl? We are almost done. I love you so much. We are almost done, I promise, okay? So I'm going to show you, let me give you a little close-up here. Move that out of the way. Okay, Sam, easy, girl, easy. So you can kind of get an idea here of what I'm talking about, right? Masking tape is like that. So you can imagine as things come out, it's going to run down. It's going to run from here down onto here, and then make its way onto the pad. And then you do the same for the other side. In theory, if you're, for instance, doing this and your bunny is about to go to bed for the night, you could skip this if they are going to just stay on just the one side throughout the night. But I do two to do extra protection against the skin. This is a little bit tricky. You might want to flip the bunny to the other side, or Sam's super cranky, so we'll flip her to the other side for this part. Sometimes I can just get by with rotating her entire body, but sometimes she's cranky and doesn't want to do that, and she'll try to bite me. So it's okay, sweet girl. You're all right. So same thing as before. One a little bit further back. One a little bit further forward. And then one piece over the middle, so it kind of like covers that like the edges of those pieces you put down. So that way, you know, when it gets soaked with water and stuff like that, the moisture will be running over those edges and will not seep through the edge under the tape and then undo what you've done. And so now when you're done, it's pretty secure, you know? Another tip I have is whatever side your bunny is going to sleep on, I recommend taking an extra piece of tape and just kind of taping it so that this corner here comes up. Let me show you. Let me see if I can get a better demonstration of that here. So like, let's say for instance, this was the side she was going to sleep on for tonight, right? What'll sometimes happen is you can see here like this edge is coming down, and then the poop will just kind of roll this way and then that way, and then the pee will follow as well. So what you can do is you just take this corner and just kind of like tape it up like that. So that way it's like a little pouch, right? And if you do a good job taping, if you do a good job taping, then the fluids won't like collect and seep through that corner. It'll just stay there inside this little pouch. So that's about it. That's the method that I came up with for taking care of Sam. I don't think I've seen anyone else do a method like this. It's very labor intensive, but it is very worth it, and it works very well. However, again, I will say, it feels weird to not look at the camera. It's very labor intensive. If you feel like the whole diaper thing is too much effort, don't do it. Because if you use a diaper without the cut square, you will make so many more problems than you had before. No matter, you might say to yourself like, oh, I'll just change the diaper like every hour on the hour, or like something like that. No, it will never work. You're going to end up creating a giant mess in there. You're just going to basically take all the poo and pee and just hug it against the body horribly. Like, don't do it. We did it one time. It was terrible. Our vet, Dr. Lyle, let me move this camera up. Our vet is Dr. Lyle Cleary in Manhattan from Center of Avian and Exotic Medicine. He's a fantastic vet, and he even told us was like, I usually don't recommend that. I don't usually recommend clients use diapers because they tend to create more problems than they solve. But he actually saw this and was like, that's pretty great. Like, it does work. I was gonna make this video like a year ago, but I just never got around to it. So yeah, I've been doing this method for. Actually, we're coming up like basically right around the 1 year mark, I think, is when I sort of got this like kind of smoothed out. There's been some minor changes since then, but like as far as like the overall concept, it's been about a year. And yeah, the urine scalding has been kept to generally a minimum. What else is there? Oh, another thing too that's very important. So at least in the case for Sam, Sam ends up dropping her cecotropes usually all throughout the night. So in the morning when I wake up, I have to feed the cecotropes to her. So I put on a pair of gloves, and the great part about having the pads like this is you can just take your gloved hand, scoop in there, take out the cecotropes and feed it to her with your gloved hand. And because of the padding, that doesn't make nearly as big of a mess. You just have to change the diaper every day. And I usually right before bed, I will check and just make sure, and this is important as well, like you got to make sure that the diaper doesn't shift so that it is blocking her poo and pee hole. If that happens, obviously that's going to create a mess as well. That's happened before in the past. So you just got to make sure the diaper is situated not too tight, not too loose. If it's too loose, it'll slide over. So again, just enough to where you can still get a finger in here and move it around relatively easily, but that it is tight enough that the diaper is not going to shift around and create bigger problems for you later on. What else is there, Sam? Is there anything you want to say? Sam's probably a little bit sleepy. What else is there? I think that's it. I hope this helps. If you are a bunny parent who is obsessed with your bunnies like we are, and God forbid your rabbit gets sick in a similar manner, I hope that this helps. You just have to change the diaper every day. The whole process takes roughly about 45 minutes or so it's not too bad. When you're first starting off, you can probably anticipate an hour or even over an hour, but you can do some things that make it very helpful and a lot easier. So first of all, these are this is not the only piece. It's a 2-piece thing, but it's like this plastic grate system that you use where you can put a puppy pad underneath, and it's meant for dogs for litter training. And then the grate system detaches, and it's fantastic because what I do is I have it over a garbage can. I'm not sure if I touched on that earlier in the video. I don't think I did. I have it over a garbage can, right? And so then as I'm spritzing the soap and all of that, like, it's very convenient. Everything just falls into the garbage can. It's very easy clean up that way, right? And then other things that help too, having, you know, your tools just like right next to you. I'll go over the products in maybe like a separate video or in a different section of the video. What else is there also? I think that's it. This is not a very rehearsed video, but I hope that maybe I can give some hope to plenty of parents out there who are possibly facing, like, you know, a medical difficulty like this. And yeah, that's how we've kept Sam relatively healthy for the last year. And I think at this point, this might seem a little bit crazy, and maybe some of you are wondering if this is putting her through too much, or that, you know, it's like, you know, too much for her to go through, and too much inconvenience and too much, you know, pain, right, for her to go through. That's a valid point, and basically my response to that is we ask her. She still very much wants to be around, super excited for stuff, gives us kisses all the time, still loves hanging out with her much younger boyfriend who's obsessed with her. And so, you know, until that day comes where she's like, you know what, I'm over this, we will continue to take care of her the best way that we know how. And this is the best way that I know how, because I came up with it. So anyways, hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to provide more detail and stuff like that. I don't think I explained everything perfectly here.